Hey guys, and welcome to the Fitpro Social with me, David Kyle.
And me, Ash Burley. Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of the Fitpro Social. So today it's just me and David, and we're going to be talking a little bit about a few things that have popped up recently over the past few months, I should say, which is really to do with the kind of spiraling costs or the apparent spiraling costs of leads that seem to come in from advertising, and also the lack of maybe lead engagement, maybe people not engaging on text messages, people not picking up the phone. I want to talk a little bit about that. And there's no one better that I can think of to speak to about this than the Fitpro Leadgen master himself, Mr. Kyle. So yeah, let's chat about this. And also let's talk a little bit about this, the name of this podcast as well, because I think that's quite an interesting one.
So first of all, it's got nothing to reference because I'm Welsh. It just purely the title that we decided on here. But I think one of the things to really consider is, I think the copy and paste side of running a fitness business is becoming a bit too much. It's becoming too relied upon. And then when things are not going well, people from experience now feel confused. Well, if that person's doing it, then surely it should work for me. So like a beautiful example was the post I put up earlier this week. You've probably seen it, where a client in Northern Ireland running a 6-week challenge is getting leads for 93 pence. And then we've got all our Facebook ads, people messaging me saying, why are we not getting it? Why are we not getting this? Why are we not getting this? And that's, again, there's so many differences that can happen. But if you're all following the same person or sort of following the same offer setup and everything, it's like that's why it's called why being a sheep. Just following the herd is never a good idea. And that's kind of what we want to talk about today.
Nice. I find it an interesting one because I've always been a bit I've never really liked the idea of pure copy and paste, which I know is a bit weird considering that we have a lot of white label content and the services and things that we offer, but a lot of it's about taking that as a starting point and then tweaking it and adapting it to suit the particular business. So whether that's the avatar or whatever, I've always kind of felt that way. And I think now more and more people are starting to do this. It's becoming more evident that these things need to be adapted and adjusted to suit the market that you're going into, the avatar you want to speak to. I mean, so for anyone here that's really struggling with or looking at this going, what's going on? Is it just the fact that, whatever social media platform they're advertising on or whatever platform they're advertising on, that just costs are spiraling? Or is there things that they can actually do with the content they're putting out there, with the copy that they're writing, with the targeting they're doing? Is there things they should be looking at specifically to adapt and adjust to help bring that cost down?
Yeah, but before we do dive into the stuff that I'm going to talk about and Ash will talk about, if you are listening live, then do comment below. That's the whole point of the Fitpro Social, is we want you to have a conversation with us, whether you join us live on the video or you just put your comments in and then we can answer them or have a proper discussion, then do comment below. But yeah, I think the costs are always going to go up. We were so lucky for the first couple of years when Facebook came out, and because it was brand new, they needed to get the numbers in. So obviously they were going to charge minimal amounts. Now, as the platform becomes more demanding, more people are using it, more people are seeing how beneficial it is. That's the perfect reason for them to start increasing their prices. And what I mean by increasing the prices is with Facebook, you're bidding against other people, not just gym owners. It could be anybody in your area. So if I'm based in Cardiff and I run ads for over 30s, not only do I have other fitness businesses, but I might have beauticians, I might have butchers, I might have people selling solar panels. I've got all these other people running ads to the same audience. So whoever spends the most will be shown first. And that means the cost per lead is always going to go up.
So is the things in that case then, kind of listen to or trying to read between the lines, if you're aiming at over 30s within a particular area, you've got a bigger market for. So if you was to maybe target your ads to a smaller market within that, would that change things slightly? Would it make your cost per lead go down?
Yeah, it really comes down to the offer, making sure it resonates with everybody. So like if I just put a Facebook ad out there now and it was for over 30s and I just said, we've got spaces on my fitness program, then that if anybody was suddenly interested in fitness, then they might click on it. But then if you went, I've got spaces on my over 30s program, that then now raises a few more people to say, oh, I'm over 30. This program is for over 30s. And then you go a step further and say, I've got spaces for over 30s who need to lose weight. Now you're talking to over 30s who want to lose weight. So that's raising some different people. Or I'm looking for over 30s who want to gain muscle. That's going to repel a few people and bring another batch of people in. So the more specific you are with the ad copy, with the creators, with the offer, the more people are going to be attracted to it or repelled by it. And the least interesting you are, again, if you're following the crowd and you're just putting the same thing out there, then you just blend in and everybody zooms past.
That's quite interesting. I had a conversation with somebody just on Facebook the other day, and they were talking about an offer that they had, and they weren't necessarily talking about paid advertising as such. I think they were talking more about an organic offer where people were commenting as well to do with paid offers. And the area that this trainer wanted to work in was 40 plus women. And another gentleman, another trainer, he commented underneath saying he also works with 40 plus women and was giving some advice on the process he went through. And he said it was hard. He said like it can be quite expensive to bring people in leads. So you have to price accordingly and all that kind of thing. And I started chatting to this trainer. I said, well, you can actually look at this in a slightly different way. If you was to take your offer and maybe try and narrow it down some more and maybe try and niche it out a little bit more, because this person wanted to offer online stuff, we changed it saying, well, you can say, what is a 40-year-old or 40-plus woman? What are they? What are the problems they've got? What things are going on in their life? And we came up with this idea that, well, they could be perimenopausal. So we changed the offer from I work with 40-plus women who want to lose weight to I work with perimenopausal women who want to lose weight and keep it off regardless of what nature throws at them. And when you change that offer, it becomes a lot more targeted. It, like you mentioned, that repels people that maybe aren't like, within that area, but also attracts people in because it seems to be very specialist. And that actually made a big difference in terms of who they was actually attracting and the number of leads that was actually getting from that particular offer itself. So just small changes seem to make a big difference.
I'm not sure sometimes as well, when you think about it then, that people don't want to niche because they're scared that they're going to miss out on a sector of clients. So me and you are the perfect example. I say we only work with offline fitness businesses. You say you only work with online fitness businesses. Yeah, I know for a fact I have online fitness businesses I work with, and you have offline fitness businesses that you work with. So don't feel like you have to be specific. Like, I do not work with anybody under 30, but then feel like, oh, I'm losing a half a market. So like a lot of people, they'll only run ads for females because a male advert generally costs a bit more. But by running ads just for females, they might then bring their husbands, or they're telling their friends who then wants to bring their partners and stuff along. So you start bringing males into your fitness business. So the messaging is super important, but don't feel like that's then going to hold you back from a different crowd that maybe you'd also work with.
Yeah, most definitely. It's a big thing, a big conversation that comes all the time with trainers when I speak to them. They always seem to be very, very worried about that. And just like you said there, it's your business. You can work with whoever you want. Like it doesn't matter. You don't have to say no to them because they don't fall in line with what you're marketing. So I think one of the key things you mentioned there, which makes a lot of sense, is that really these ads, the marketing, the message you put out there attracts a certain type of people, but they have friends, they have connections. And maybe you could have things in place if you wanted to follow with that. Like literally simply ask the question, well, do you have a partner who might be interested in doing this? Do you have friends who might be interested in doing this? Asking for referrals and maybe putting some kind of sequencing or messaging or something in place around that to try and take advantage of that actual resource, basically. That lead you've got is a resource for lots of other leads as well.
That conversation happens the minute somebody's bought. So what we used to do all the time was, hey, thanks for joining our 6-week program. You actually get better results when you feel more comfortable. Do you have any friends that might be interested in joining the program? And they're like, oh yeah, you know what? I've just paid and I am feeling. Let me see if one of my friends wants to come along. And then there you go. You've got an instant referral. Wait. And I can see a lot of you people are liking and comment. So if you are liking and watching, do comment below and let us know your thoughts on the stuff that we're talking about right now.
Definitely. I think that's quite an interesting one they mentioned about sending stuff out straight away and sending messages out straight away, because a lot of people don't do that. I think referrals, for some reason, it seems to be, especially when I've looked at things that have been set before in the past, that these referrals get asked towards the end of the program.
Yeah.
It's like there's this idea that they think, well, actually, because they've gone through this, they've experienced it, they've enjoyed it, they've got great results, touch wood, then they're more likely to refer, which, yeah, I guess they're more likely to refer. But to me, when someone's paid for something, I think when I bought something, if I bought I don't know, a new laptop or a holiday or got a new coach or something like that, I'm excited. I'm like, I've just invested this. I'm about to make a big change. That to me is the time where I start telling people. Like I go and tell everybody, oh, I bought this today, or I've done this today, or I booked this today. Like, to me, you should really try and capitalize on that.
Hey, it's going to pause it there for literally 2 seconds. If you're loving this week's episode, please let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. The more people we can get subscribing, the bigger guests we can get, and the more people we can help with the content being shared. Anyway, let's dive back into today's episode. This is funny how like we had this one conversation that we were going to talk about, and now we're talking about referrals. But yeah, that conversation needs to happen during the honeymoon period. It has to happen early, because if you've said, you know what, during your 6 weeks, your 12 weeks, whatever your program is, and you wait to the end and ask for the referral, well, what happens if they didn't get the expected results? What happens if the service you deliver wasn't as good as it could have been? What happens if that person died off towards the end of the program, where it would have been the perfect time to ask for it? So get those referrals in early, and don't be scared to ask well. If you're scared, just reframe it. Just say, hey, I know you've been doing really well last couple of weeks. We love working with you. Do you know anybody that is similar to you that would benefit from the program? It doesn't have to be an awkward conversation.
Yeah. It shouldn't be. And at the end of the day, it's personal training, isn't it? You can be personal about it. It doesn't need to be awkward, just simple, straight to the point, and just be yourself. I always find works best with those kind of things. Let's maybe like bring it back to what we're trying to talk about in the first place, and let's talk about this kind of lead side. So we've talked a little bit about the cost of it and how maybe that could be brought down. What about the next stage of it? Because I always feel a lot of the time that it's more about what happens after that connection's made that makes all the difference. So when people maybe aren't responding to text messages that you may be sending out to them, when people aren't responding to the phone call when you ring them and they're not picking up, like what can trainers do about that if they're finding that's the case at the moment where their leads just aren't engaging back with them once they've got them? Like, what can they do about that?
100%. And we have to remember there is different levels of people's buying cycles. So if somebody is at the stage where they're eager to buy, they're ready to buy, they've probably gone onto your website, they've probably found you on Google, they've probably reached out to you and messaged you on Facebook. And if that's the case, they're eager to buy, they're ready and willing and want to know more. So they are expecting that communication, text message, phone call, email, WhatsApp message. But if you're running paid ads, Facebook ads, Google ads, Pinterest ads, TikTok ads, whatever it is, we call that interruptive advertising, for the simple reason you're sat there, or they're sat there watching Coronation Street or whatever they're watching, and they're scanning through their phone at the same time, and they see your advert. It resonates with them. They click it, and then somebody gets run over on Coronation Street, and they're just like, oh, and then they're back to what they're just watching. So if you go in straight away, say, hey, thanks for requesting more information, let's get you signed up straight away, they were just like, well, who are you? I don't really remember filling that in because I'm busy doing something. Mm-hmm. So the conversation, it needs icebreaker. It needs to be short and simple and easy to answer. That's not intimidating either.
Do you think it's important then to have some process or campaign at the different kind of stages of this buyer's journey? I mean, I'm trying to remember what they are now. You have awareness stage, consideration, and decision. I think it's a long time ago since I did this kind of stuff. So like you have those 3 stages. Do you need something that's for those different kind of stages? So for example, there you mentioned there's a bit of awareness there. They're watching Coronation Street. Oh, now they're aware of who you are, but they don't really remember what they've done. Would that be a different type of campaign compared to maybe if you was to retarget that person a bit further down the line? Would you approach it differently?
100%. I know I've done a whole 2-part series on this on the Fitpro YouTube channel where we talked about running ads for the buyer's journey. So like not everybody is going to want to buy or learn about your 6-week program yet. Maybe they're not aware that they need to change. So running 5 tasty recipes that's going to make your breakfast easier, that's for somebody who's not aware. And then maybe a partner said to them, hey, it looks like you've gained a bit of weight, or that top is looking a bit tight on you. then maybe they've now become a little bit aware. And again, there's different stages of this. So they might be a little bit of aware, but their intent isn't there. And then as they start pushing through, then their intent is there. And when the intent is there, they then start actually searching for these type of things, which then is a different ad. And when they're at the purchase phase, that's obviously where you need to phone them up and sign them up as quick as possible before they move back down the stages.
An interesting one that you mentioned. You have to phone them up, text them, get in touch with them quickly. And I can imagine a lot of people who may be listening to this now, a lot of trainers who are listening to this thinking, well, I'm just me on my own. So you're saying that as soon as a lead comes in, I need to respond to them straight away. You know, where it's Saturday, Sunday, I'm sat there having my Sunday lunch with my family, and a lead comes in, like I have to respond to them straight away in order to make sure I get that sale, or at least that process of that sale started. How does a solopreneur, for want of a better word, deal with that and have a life at the same time?
Nice. Just quickly though, Frank, we will get back to your message in a minute, but let's kind of dive into what Ash was talking about first. The speed is such an important thing, and we'll go back to that partner making a comment. The partner woke up in the morning and said to the other person, "Oh, it looks like you've put a bit of weight on recently, or that t-shirt or that dress or that top's looking a bit tight on you at the minute." And their mind then has gone from unaware to intent to buy. So they've skipped a load of stages. They've literally just jumped stages. They saw your advert about 5 minutes later and they registered their interest. You took ages to respond to them, like the whole day has gone past. Then you actually phone them up, but that partner then has come back with a box of chocolates or some flowers or something and said, "I'm really sorry about what I said this morning. I didn't mean that. I'm just having a bad morning." They've now gone from intent to buy back to slightly aware. So when you phone them up, they say, "No, I'm not interested anymore," because you've taken so long. They've been able to drift back down the buyer's journey. So we need to get to them fast. So if it is all about speed, automations, that is the whole purpose of an automation. And that's where the specific text messages come in as well. Quick automation, thanks for showing interest, and then ask them to confirm, ask them to just respond with a very short message, 1 word, 2 word, a short sentence at the most. So thanks for your interest. Can I just confirm you live in Cardiff? Yes, it's easy to respond to. It's easy to reply to. It doesn't feel like you're asking them for their life story. Because again, if they're brand new, they've never come across you before, and then you get a random text message off a stranger saying, "Hey, thanks for your interest. Why have you struggled to lose weight?" You're just thinking, well, I'm not responding to this one. First, he's putting me down by saying I need to lose weight. Then he's asking me why I can't keep the weight off. If this is feeling a bit weird, I'll just ignore it. So the text messages need to be easy. They need to be simple for someone to respond to initially, and then you start building that conversation.
And I guess as well, even with those initial yeses and no's, you're thinking, well, someone says yes, you've got to respond back to that relatively quickly as well. Like you're trying to get this conversation going. But with the right kind of technology, with the right systems automations in place, you can actually automate that now without, it costing the earth either. Like you can have it so for anyone watching this, if you're thinking, well, how, when someone says yes, how I still got to respond back to them. Well, in reality, you don't necessarily need to. You can actually have stuff these days where they can say yes, a software can identify that, and they can have another message that will then follow up just to get that conversation going a bit before you even need to. So there is stuff out there to really help with this type of thing if you are concerned about the time it can take up.
But I need to jump in there because I know we both are heavily fans of automation. That's a big part to what you do. But I'm going to say that is an excuse to rely too much on automation. The first text message, 100%, they've applied, you've got back-to-back sessions, or you've got a big thing going on, or you sat down with dinner and the family rule is no one's on their phone while dinner's on. That first text message, 100%, within 5 to 10 minutes straight away, letting them know that you've got their details and what's the next step. But unless you're at capacity, unless you're like running 5 or 6 facilities, I would personally think it's more of there's a reason, there's an excuse behind saying that I'm too busy to respond to this person who is showing interest. They want to buy from me. They're replying to my messages. They've seen my advert. They've responded Just respond back to them, get that conversation going, and do it manually so they know it's a real person.
We still do that in our business now. So when a lead comes in, we ask a very simple question. Basically, are you new to online personal training? Yes or no. We have a response to that, depending what it is. But that actual response also adds that lead to a list, what I call in conversation. And that just basically gives me a list of people to have a conversation with. So I know I can log in to our CRM that we use, which is Leadgen. For a little bit, we use that. You go in there, big list of people in conversation, and that's it. I know who I've got to deal with, who I've got to respond back to. And it's sometimes, to me, it's sometimes those little things. Like if you just have it on your phone and a text comes through, I find you have to try and remember to respond. Just like they've got big things going on in their life, I feel that you'll have your own things going on in your life that can distract from those things that you need to do. But if you have a decent system in place, it doesn't mean it has to be an automated response to a message. But I think to have something in place to remind you to follow up, to remind you to get involved with that conversation, to check if there's been a response, I think can be a useful thing to include.
Yeah, and if we go back to the buyer's journey as well, like that first text message where you sent it, where they're in the intent stage to buy, and it's like, yes, I'm based in Cardiff. You can have an easy automation going, perfect. I'm just with a couple of clients right now. I'll get back to you. But in the meantime, could you maybe fill in this survey? Or I'm really busy with clients. Are you okay to just book in? If not, I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Or I'm really busy with clients. Here's a couple of our success stories, and they'll get back to you within the next couple of hours. Get them to keep moving themselves further and further and further down that buying cycle. So when you actually do phone them up, or you send them an email or text message or WhatsApp, they're just like, Ash, oh my God, I was literally I've been waiting for this phone call all day. I read those testimonials, or I completed that form, and that really got me motivated to want to start this. Get them to move them. And that's a big thing we do with our ads. Add to submit their details to what's the next stage. Can we get them to message a Facebook page, book a call, complete an application form, so they move themselves down the line so it's easier for you to chase.
And do you think as well, we talked at the very start of this about some of these kind of copy and paste parts of this. I think it's important that the structure itself, the blueprint that you can use for that could probably stay the same, but maybe how you adapt and edit those messages in that process. So you mentioned like maybe 3 different types you mentioned there: a form, booking in for a call, or whatever. Do you really do you need to be looking at your business or the people you want to work with and decide on what the best move for that client would be, or that lead would be? Is that the thing you think we should be adapting, or is it something else?
I think it's the best for you. So like we take a lot of people on in their ads, and they're like, oh, I've always done phone calls, but you know what? I hate doing phone calls, so I don't do the phone calls. So it's like, why run ads to get people to submit their phone number? If you're not going to phone them, don't collect that phone number. If you run messenger ads, you've always run messenger ads, but you know what? I hate replying to messages. Then don't run messenger ads, run call ads. So run the ads that work specific to you. And then with those frameworks, don't just copy and paste someone's text message script, because when that person reads the text message script and then they actually come to you, the real you in person, it's just like, well, you seem a bit different to what those text messages, or you seem different to that email series, or there's something weird going on here, because your business is not the same as what these emails or text messages are saying. So frameworks, blueprints, structures, skeletons, whatever you want to call them, are perfect to get you to be able to fill in the blanks. But most of the time, copying somebody takes away why somebody actually comes to you, because it's personal training at the end of the day, or that's why people come, is because it's the personal element of you.
And I suppose that makes a lot of sense. I think as coaches and personal trainers, one thing we do with our clients is we have a structure and a blueprint. We know what works to get them a particular result, but a lot of the time we have to adapt it in order for the client to complete it. Like there's no point in saying to a client, say on nutrition, I need you to go and track everything you've ever ate every single day, and I want you to record all that, and I want you to use those targets on MyFitnessPal to decide what you're going to eat for the next day. But if they've never ever done that before, then it's going to be difficult for them to actually implement it, because it's basically a complete overhaul. It's something they don't enjoy doing. It's something they've never done, and the chance of their adherence is lower, and they're less likely to complete. And I guess that's the same thing we're doing here, isn't it? It's like in our own business. If it's stuff we don't like doing, it's stuff we find difficult to do, then why not adapt it and adjust it so you can do something you can do, something you enjoy doing consistently, because we all know consistency in reality is what gets the results. You don't have to be perfect. It just needs to be consistent.
Hey, just going to pause it there really quickly. If you know any guests that would love to feature, or if you yourself would like to feature on one of these episodes, do let us know by reaching out or letting us know in the comments. Anyway, let's get back into the episode. So going back to the last question then, should you run ads 100%? But if you don't like phoning people up, then find the other ways to generate leads. There is, honestly, I know it gets a real bad rep, but there's nothing wrong with cold messaging people. There's nothing wrong with cold emailing people. There's nothing wrong with spending 4 hours sat on Instagram commenting on people's, liking on people's, and reaching out to people. There's nothing wrong with that. We both know some incredibly successful online fit pros, and that is their main lead gen strategy. So I know it gets a bad rep from certain parts of the industry, and other people kind of think, oh, that's beneath me. But these things, if it's working for these people that we know and they've got massive followers and massive online fitness businesses, then there's something to say about doing it.
Yeah, everything kind of works to one extent or another. It's just about trying to, like say, find out what works best for you and what you can do consistently. But yeah, there's nothing particularly wrong with cold calling. You don't have any of these real methods, really. It's just, again, find something that works for you. We've not got a huge amount of time left, so I want to take a look at the comments. I know some questions and stuff came in, so let's have a look to see what's popped up. I'll let you go for this one.
So I find it actually hard for me to close referrals. I feel like they don't want to pay the full upfront price, always looking to get something for free. My front end is $260, no issue closing 8% of cold traffic call. In that case, literally, let me keep it on screen so everyone can see what we're talking about. Go back to what we talked about earlier, get them to fill a form in. So, hey, we'd be super interested if you knew anybody that wanted to learn more about our program. If you do, just send them this link. Get them to pre-qualify themselves. Then it doesn't feel like that friend has to sell to them. Yeah, you should come and join Frank because he does this and does this and does this. It's like, hey, I've been doing really well with Frank. If you're interested, here's a link. They then have to complete a short form, and that tells you straight away, is this person a good person? Is this person a bad person? Do they fit with what I do? Because again, the worst thing is with referrals, if somebody refers somebody and you're just like, oh my God, why did they refer that person? I think we've both definitely had this at times, and you think, oh,
Lots
that
of
is
times.
a huge mistake bringing that person in. So qualify them, get them to fill in a small survey questionnaire, whatever it is, so they pre-qualify themselves, so then you reach out. And then the awkward part then might be saying, oh, you don't fit, and then it being awkward with the friend. But just say, right now, it just does. I don't feel like the program won't be suited to you, or just lie and just say, hey, thanks for filling in the form, but right now we don't actually have any spaces. So again, it doesn't feel bad.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing with referrals. They should be treated just like any other lead. Like, you should always qualify your leads. I think that's the way you should treat it. A referral is just a lead that's there and they need qualified. I think another thing I've noticed before in the past, and I've always been always gone one way or the other with this and experiment a little bit with it, is whether you offer something for a referral. So sometimes you'll see it with software especially, or maybe with courses where you can say, here's a link, you'll get a referral, you might get some monetary reward or something along those lines for referring it. And you can kind of do that with software, you can do that with courses. But I think with coaching, it's very different. It's personal, isn't it? Your personal training. So you've got to meet them, you've got to get on with them, you've got to be able to help them, and so on from there. And I feel sometimes if you offer some kind of monetary reward for offering a referral, a lot of people will just give it out to anybody they can do in order to try and get that reward, more than actually thinking about who they should be referring to. And I think normally if you just ask them for a referral, ask if they know anybody else without really giving them anything in return, then sometimes they're more likely to think about it. And if somebody pops into their mind, it's someone they're actually thinking, well, they could really do with this help. And they're more likely to be a better lead for you. That's what I found anyway, more recently. Nice. I don't know about you, but that's what I found.
Cool. Let's move on to the next one. Not sure who you are. Whilst working with client channel conversations to family members, majority will talk about aunts, parents, uncle, cousin that has a problem more likely to get positive referral when it's closer to home, as they usually have trust in you. Ash?
think that's more of a statement, I think, than a question. But yeah, I think there's definitely, when it comes to referrals, you could always argue that half the job's done, because there should be a level of trust built up between the two people. So let's say if I was to refer someone to Dave might go, oh yeah, I'll go and speak to them because Ash knows me, he knows my business, he knows they're probably likely to be a good person. So you might treat that differently, and it makes it a little bit easier. And I think that's the same with clients. If it's a family member that they're referring to, there's already normally an inherent trust because there's a strong relationship, because they're family members. So because of that, when they come to speak to you, a lot of the barriers should have been broken, because there's this kind of indirect trust. Because, my brother trusts you, or my mum trusts you, or my dad trusts you, then by default, I should trust you as well. And I think that can make a big difference, but that also doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be the right fit for your business either. So you still, regardless of that, need to qualify them as well.
I think when, like you say, closer to home, but also the referral doesn't have to be them coming into you. So like if you have somebody who's doing really well, and let's say they're on Weight Watchers or Slimming World at the same time, don't feel like they have to bring those people into you. See how potentially you can leverage that referral in a way that you go to them. Is there any way that they can speak to the Weight Watchers or Slimming World or whatever kind of community or group they have, where you can go in and talk to that audience? So referrals doesn't always have to be bringing somebody in to sign up. It could also be an open door. It could be an introduction into a different part of society, where you can go in, introduce yourself to a new audience, and then pick up a load of referrals indirectly from that conversation. Yeah.
A massive part, and massively underlooked part of the industry, I think, as well, is this. I normally call it partnerships with people, like try and generate partnerships and relationships with people who will also work with your particular niche market, avatar, whatever. I mean, we had a client of ours who did a very similar thing. They worked with a client of theirs who was part of a Slimming World type club. She had lots of following, lots of influence on that kind of thing, got great results from them. So we had a conversation with them about how to get involved and speak to them. And then literally, I don't like talking about overnight successes, but it pretty much, talking about, and it went boom, 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 boom so quickly. And that's exactly what I think Dave's talking about here. Like he just decided to push that a little bit further, and then it got loads of referrals out of that, and his business has kind of exploded, probably 80% organically now, because of that one partnership and that referral sequence from it all. But yeah, I'd imagine you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. The first name starts with J.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I appreciate everybody watching. It's going to be a regular thing, hopefully at 11:30 every Friday morning. So if you are joining in for the first time, or you've listened in a couple of times before, join in at 11:30 most Friday mornings. Leave comments, request anything, and if you want to come on and share your thoughts on anything that we've talked about this week or previous weeks, then do feel free to reach out. We'll happily get you on, because that's what the Fitpro Social is all about, is to chance us to chat and to share frustrations, wins, success, and what we're seeing in the fitness industry along with yourselves.
Excellent. And don't forget as well, this is a podcast, so you can listen back and watch any of these as well on all the usual podcast channels. Just search for Fitpro Social. You'll be able to find us on there as well. All right, that's it from me and David. We'll see you all next week. Thanks so much for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Fitpro Social. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes.